Hey everyone, thank you for watching. Today's video I'm really excited to do. It is going to be a new one for my channel. This series is going to be called The Inspired Squad. So the intro is going to be a little bit longer as I explain how I'm kicking off this series because it really doesn't have a whole lot to do with me, and it has more to do with a lot of you and audience participation and all of that. So I'm going to explain where the idea for this came from and how it is going to go down. So one thing about me is that I have always wanted to use my platform to connect other people. I really believe in the power of sharing our stories and sharing our experiences, and especially with a lot of the hardships that I have been through, and especially as a female, I have really seen what it does when you share your experiences, your stories, your ups and downs, your triumphs, your failures. I have seen how that can help in personal lives, in professional lives. And one thing that I have been really grateful for over all of my time on social media, I started in 2009 as a blogger, is the amount of messages that I get, emails that I get, DMs that I get, comments that I get. And whenever I open up about something personal, and I have done that from the beginning of social media. I have talked about abuse, I have talked about financial struggles, I have gone through my divorce in a public eye, I've talked about infertility struggles. Most recently I opened up about health, I've talked about failed friendships on my platforms. Whenever I open up about something personal, I get so many comments from other women sharing their stories. I see the power and the desire that we have, especially as females. It's not just limited to us, but I feel like women have a certain desire to help one another. We really have a desire to, the sayings like fix each other's crowns and things like that. I see that so much through my platform and my community, which I think is so special. There's been times, especially as I've opened up about divorce and infertility in the last year and a half here, I get so many beautiful messages from people, and they encourage me so much, and they help me so much, and they make me feel not alone. They make me feel seen. They make me feel like I'm not a weirdo and this is the only problem, like I'm the only one that's going through something like this, right? And I've just been so bothered though, because I'm like, why should it just be me? Why should it just be me getting these messages? Why should it just be me getting this encouragement and this support? We all deserve this. What really got my wheels turning was when I've opened up about some health struggles. And that first video where I talked about it, the comment section, there was so many comments. There was so many comments on that video of women sharing their own personal health struggles and other women commenting on the comments to let them know they were going through the same thing. This is what they did. This is the doctor they found. This is what they tried. And that first day that I posted that video and I was going through my comment section, I could not help but cry because I felt such a community impact. And I thought, how do I do this? How do I make this keep happening? And that is where the idea for the Inspired Squad came from. So the purpose of this video is to have it be kind of like a community hour. You know, I call my viewers, my community, I call us the Sam Squad, so that's why I said Inspired Squad. Kind of a lot of my branding is about being inspired. My podcast is called Start Inspired. I have products under the Start Inspired line for my own brand. And it's just something that I really believe in. Start inspired, stay inspired. And so I came up with the Inspired Squad because I just felt like it was a good fit. But this is our time to come together as a community. And what I did for this initial video was I opened it up to my members on YouTube, and I posted on the community chat. I gave the idea for this series, and the feedback was phenomenal. So many people were excited. So many of you were telling me how much you were looking forward to this series. And I also posted in there a link to a Google form. And I said, for this series, you can talk about anything that you want, whether it be something that you're going through and you would really like advice or feedback, help, direction, something that you feel really proud of, something that you've overcame, a triumph, a win. It can be something that you bought recently, you like it, you love it, you don't like it, you're returning it. Like anything, your favorite drink you're drinking right now, a new recipe you've discovered, anything that you want. This is our time to come together as a community, share the ups and the downs, the failures, the triumphs, all of it. And I wanted the Google Doc to be completely anonymous because I also understand that I get a lot of DMs and emails because people say, I really wanted to comment on the video, but you know, I don't want people to see my name. I don't want my name attached to it. 1000% that makes sense. It's very scary to comment publicly. So this form is completely anonymous. There's nothing in there for your name. There's nothing in there for your email. All it is one paragraph box that you can fill out, and you can share whatever you want to share. My hope with this is to make it a monthly series. And again, my hope is that this is our time where we can just chill. I'm coming to you from my bedroom. I have my dog Aries right here, who is clearly waiting for me to acknowledge her in this video, and I just wanted it to be our time. I'm gonna read through the responses that have come in. Thank you so much to my members who are helping me out with this first video, and otherwise the link is always going to be in this video in the series, or you can also find it on my website, which is bysamanthamarch.com, and there is a page under the About section with links. I have links in there to, you know, just all of my social platforms and Amazon favorites and discount codes and all of that, but you will also see an Inspired Squad link. That link will always be there. And again, with this series, this is not about me. I'm just wanting to give us a platform to be able to come together, to speak our mind, to help one another, maybe just to listen and feel supported and seen, understood, heard. Maybe you'll get some answers in here or some clarity, or you'll feel inspired or motivated after this video. That is my hope with this series. So again, I'm gonna read through these, and maybe some I might have some feedback about, but it's not about me. And I would like to encourage, if you are listening to this video and you hear a comment and you have some feedback on it, please head over to the form and then just let me know when you answered or when you talked about this, or you could even leave like a timestamp in the video when you talked about this at minute 11. This is my response to it. And then in the next video, I can also be reading the responses. And again, my hope was we can really help each other out. If you feel good, you feel confident to be able to publicly post in the comments, that's a great thing too, but don't feel the pressure to it. I understand the desire for being anonymous, especially as we talk about some more either challenging topics, personal topics. I do understand that desire of not being super public. And again, I'm just trying to give us a platform here. And my mission with this video and with this series is that we can help each other out, and we can form a special community, can form a special squad over here. That's my biggest goals with my platforms, and it always has been. And I've always looked for more ways that we can bring people together, and I hope that this video and this series you will find helpful, and it will be one that you come to enjoy and possibly even participate in. Maybe you know someone that you can share it with. You hear something that you think, hey, my friend kind of talked about that last week. Maybe this would be a good video to send over. I hope that if you have anything that you would like to say or anything that you would like to respond to, please do check out that link. But that is the idea behind this new series. I hope that it will go well. And I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the responses that we've gotten so far. I don't know if I'll be able to get to every single response today. Obviously I would love to get your feedback on the series in general, anything that you think could improve it, be better, anything like that. Maybe if there's like a time frame. I was kind of thinking this as more of like almost what you would consider like a podcast style video, which are usually a little bit longer, and it's just something you can listen to. I'm not showing any products in here. You know, I'm a mostly beauty focused channel. I also care so much more about just makeup, so there's really no visuals that you need for this video unless you would like to look at my cute dog right here. These might be a little bit longer. I recently had a baby and I just started going back to the gym. I used to lift regularly and also do up to an hour of cardio about 5 times a week. I got a little bit out of the habit when the pandemic hit, and I stopped going altogether when I got pregnant. I miss being stronger and having better endurance. I've put off going back to the gym because I feel guilty leaving my baby, even though my husband actually wants more alone time with our son. I still struggle sometimes getting myself out the door, but I find that once I close the door, I am so excited and I feel almost this relief that I can have some time for myself, doing something that I really enjoy. Spending time in the gym with no specific goal in mind for my body or my weight has been so liberating for me. I get some valuable alone time, which helps me be a better mom and partner. I hope that everyone remembers that it is more than okay to take time for yourself. It is necessary that we do things that bring us joy. Don't let guilt or societal expectations hold you back from finding that happiness. That is such a beautiful way to kick off this series. Wow. And there's a lot going on in there. So I do not have children myself. I am a proud dog mom right here. I don't have children myself, but I feel like that's one of the biggest things that I hear from moms is about mom guilt and spending time on their own, doing things for themselves. I do feel like there's still that societal pressure on moms. Like they get the guilt, even something like going back to work, whereas you don't really see that with the dads all that often. And I get that that has to be incredibly frustrating. I know I hear from a lot of my friends, they struggle to find that balance as well and have time for themselves. And that's such a huge thing. Like this says, it's necessary to do things that bring us joy, and don't let guilt or societal expectations hold you back from finding that happiness. I think that is so key because, you know, the old saying, like, if the plane's going down, you have to put your life vest on first before you can put the life vest on someone else and that sort of thing. And you really do have to put yourself first. And I know that it's hard, and it's something that I struggle with myself too. It can be so hard because I feel like, especially as women, we get told, you know, putting us first is selfish. And I still see now people talking about like self-care and days off and doing the little things that they love, whether it's getting a coffee or their hair done or a pedicure, a massage. And that's looked at as almost like a, how dare you, shouldn't you be working or taking care of your kids or cleaning the house? Or, and it's like, what? We need to have that time for ourselves. So that's really beautiful. We can only be our best if we are taking care of ourselves. The next one says, starting fresh after substance abuse. So that's all that's written in. This is not something that I have a lot of experience in. So again, if you would like to write in your responses, if you have words of encouragement, or if you've been through something similar and you want to share what works for you, I think that would be really fabulous to get something like that. And again, the link will be in my description box. Just let me know which topic we're discussing that you want to respond to. But what I will take away from this one, being able to overcome substance abuse, that's a huge thing. But even doing something like this, like reaching out, whether it be in a video like this, or perhaps reaching out to a friend or a family member and acknowledging that you want to start fresh, that is not something to be taken lightly. Even before you start taking the steps, just to acknowledge that it's something you need to do, that is a win in itself. Because a lot of people don't. A lot of people will not be able to overcome something like addiction, and to not only overcome it and then want to just make yourself a better person afterwards. Even something like this, I think that's a huge step, and that's a huge win. The next one says, I struggle so much with money. I make a decent living at $52,000 a year, but I find myself constantly battling enjoying life now or saving for the future. I have a healthy Roth IRA, $205,000, another IRA with $20,000, and then my work IRA, just short of $20,000. I also have $50,000 in credit card debt. Gift giving is a love language of mine, and I spend a lot of money on other people, but I spend a fair amount on myself too. I'm working through some underlying problems in therapy, feeling worthless and unlovable, so I have to buy people things so they love me, feeling depressed, so I buy myself things to feel something. But I also don't want to not live my life now because I'm paying off debt or saving for retirement. I just turned 40. There is light at the end of the tunnel with some inheritances and such, but who knows when that will happen. The further away, the better. But the now is what I worry about. I don't have a lot of joy in my life, and there are a lot of reasons and challenges, but buying stuff brings me joy. Do I stop that and take away what little joy I have? Or do I continue as long as I'm maintaining? I'm not going into more debt, and I haven't been in several years. I'm just not really paying down what I already did. I don't know, this might be too complicated and specific for what you need, but I'd welcome any advice. Nothing is gonna be too complicated or specific or strange or weird. And again, the beautiful thing with this series is that it's completely anonymous. I don't even know who you are. It's completely anonymous, and you don't have to feel strange or weird. I think something as females is we get told that so many things about us is strange or weird, starting from our periods. that's like a taboo thing. How many times when you were growing up, you had to feel embarrassed or shamed because you had a period and you had to whisper to someone that you needed a tampon or anything like that? That's what the society has put on us all this time. So especially a series like this where we're essentially in a safe place, this should not be, we don't need to feel weird about whatever questions we have. Money is something that I have always struggled with myself. Mindset around money. I've overcome a lot of financial hardships in my life, and money is such a hard topic, and it is so personal to everybody. The thing that I did when I really was like, I need to make a change with finances, is that I really sought out resources that could help me. And by that, I mean books, I mean podcasts, and that's how I really was able to start making some changes in my financial world, because unfortunately, I think something like personal finance is, we're wholly uneducated. I do live in the US, and I understand that it can be very different in other countries. I'm also 35, so it's been a hot sec since I've been in school, but I left high school knowing how to balance a checkbook. I wasn't learning about credit cards. I wasn't learning about mortgages. I wasn't learning about an IRA. I get really upset when I look back and I think about all of the years that I spent at my job, my like traditional job. I worked for a hospital, because I had no idea that I should have been doing matching 401k contributions. And I didn't realize that until my last 2 years of working there. I lost so much money because of that, and I feel very frustrated that I was not educated. And you know, with me, I don't know if I will ever have kids. You know, I went down that path with my ex-husband and it didn't work out, but I can at least share these experiences with other people, so we don't just continue. Like, my mom was also not educated in that arena. Her mom also not educated. Like, we just keep passing down lack of knowledge, basically. So being able to talk freely about something like finances and what we learn, I think is so important. I was on a live chat the other day with, for my brand, I have this digital download pack, and included in that is Lives with Me. And we were doing a goal planning, and I ended up mentioning under the financial section about how I did not know until a few years ago that I've been contributing to an IRA as a self-employed person now. I contribute to it, and then I wasn't doing anything with it. I didn't realize you then had to invest what you were contributing. So that money for years was also just sitting there. Another huge financial mistake that I've made. And I'm like, but how was I supposed to know? How was I supposed to know? It wasn't until I took it into my own hands and started reading and started listening and started, instead of consuming, I talk a lot about how I don't watch a lot of TV. Instead of doing something like watching reality shows, I read books and I try to learn more, because I didn't get that from my education. So I need to find it somewhere else. And that's personally what helped me so much. Not every single book that I read do I agree with absolutely everything, but I can tell you that every single personal development or self-growth or whatever we call them these days, I have taken something away from that book, and it has helped change my financial situation, my mindsets, things like that. It has helped change it for the better. A podcast that I really enjoy is called Diversifying. I also read a lot of the Dave Ramsey books. I will link anything in my description box, and I feel like there's a lot of like bad rap around his books too, but that's how I learned about investing in my IRA. Again, reading a book doesn't mean you have to do absolutely everything, because he says like don't drink the latte. I still drink the latte, but you know what I mean? Like, you gotta take it for yourself. But I definitely took away some financial wisdom in there. And there's been a few other books, especially regarding business, that I will link in my description box that I've read that I find really helpful. I like the Style Your Mind podcast by another author. Just actually downloaded one of her books. I'll definitely let you know what I think of it. But my goal is to read one. I read a lot of fiction books because I'm also a book blogger. So I read a lot of books sent to me from publishers and authors, but my goal is to read one nonfiction every other month with the purpose of learning, expanding my mind, learning more about business, financials, just personal growth in general. And I hope I can, be able to share throughout this series. But if you have feedback as well on money struggles, You know, I think that's really important. For me, one thing that I've tried working on is paying down my debts. I want to work on paying off my vehicle, because what I've kind of learned, and the main like consensus from all the financial books that I've read, is really paying down your debt. Even before you have a big savings account, paying off debt is a good thing. I do think having an emergency fund is very important, but instead of having like a gigantic savings account and then also a gigantic pile of debt, what I've learned, paying off debt is going to be very, very beneficial. But it sounds like you're doing really well in a lot of areas with the IRAs, and then we go into talking about like what brings you joy. And for you, it is more of like what we'd say like retail therapy. And I love hearing that you are in therapy. I'm a big advocate for therapy. The next one says, on the heels of the Kansas vote to let Roe still be in their state, I want to start with a little bit of my life story and why I am pro-choice. I can't help but think how many is still scared to talk openly because of the shame that is thrown onto them if they do try to talk, when it is not their shame, but is 100% a victim of it from rape or just not wanting to have or be ready to have kids. My number one reason I am pro-choice is I know what it's like at the young age of 13 being pregnant from my rapist, Dad. I was blessed, unlike many women, my mother, that came before me. When Roe became law, I was 10 years old, so at 13, 3 short years later, I didn't have to go through hell the others did before me. Now at 60, I still deal with issues of my abuse, but it helps me to fight for the little ones coming up behind me for their rights and their protection. We cannot let it define us, but use it for good and help others through compassion, empathy, sympathy, listening, help, and never judge them. I tell my story only to let others know it's okay to speak up when ready. It took me almost 40 years before I was comfortable to openly talk. Also, they need to know that others will hold them up with their support, and there is help in numbers for others behind us without judgment or shame, but love and understanding. We also have to remember to respect everyone's choice. Just because I might be pro-choice, it's not my job to try and make others believe my way, but to talk about why I believe in pro-choice. You'd be surprised at how many pro-lifers do not know why we believe in choice. Some don't even know the differences in pro-life, pro-choice. Being pro-choice doesn't mean we're against pro-life or abortions. We just want the right to choose if need be. At that point, I will hear all the God stuff, and I just simply say then that becomes between me and God, not between me and man, the government. Not opposed of talking or answering more questions if you need any more info on my first 13 years of life being abused and raped. Love you and thank you for this series you're starting. Thank you. And thank you for sharing that story. I know that this is a really difficult topic to talk about. I have been what I think pretty vocal, sharing that I am also pro-choice. I've gone to protests here in Las Vegas. I've stated my disappointment in the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And there's definitely a lot that we could say on this situation, but I think you said it in really beautiful ways of having it be a choice, and it's such a personal choice. I was sexually abused at the age of 11 by my stepbrother, and I just think what could have happened, and if it would have happened under today's law and living still in Iowa, to think about having to go through a situation that's already traumatic and then having to be pregnant at a young age, and it's really hard for me to fathom. It's really hard for me to think about. I know, boo-boo. And even if you take away something like a woman getting pregnant against her will and against her consent, I think it's important to note that not everybody is going to be ready, financially ready. I also think about relationships that are not stable and not healthy. I think about how we still have as women so much to overcome and so much to feel equal about, and no matter what you want to say, having a baby is life-changing. And people say that, and people say that in a good way, you know, just wait till you have a baby and your whole life will change. What if someone is not ready for their whole life to change? What if someone cannot financially support their whole life changing? Again, I'm going to recommend the Diversifying Podcast. They had a very eye-opening episode on this, especially when it comes to minorities. And also Samantha, she just posted to me, a very eye-opening video on healthcare when it comes to pregnant women. And she said in there her kind of horrifying experience with giving birth and aftercare and all of that. And she said, and I had this experience as someone who should be getting the best treatment. You know, I'm white and I'm straight and I'm cisgender and I'm married and all these things. And she said, I was still treated that way. Can you imagine how someone not in her position could be treated? And the more that I thought about that and her words sunk into me, the more scared I got for so many women. There's still so many health complications that can happen. I watched Marlena Stell's story from Makeup Geek. She was on the news in Texas talking about her own experience with miscarrying. Just a lot. But if anything, like, I'm someone who really tries to look at silver linings. I hope that will make this topic, I almost want to say, like, more acceptable to talk about. I still feel like something like the word abortion has to be whispered, or telling a story like that, women have to feel shame. And my hope is with this is that we can talk more freely about it and help each other out, because like I said, having a baby is life-changing on a woman's health, women's body, financials, their career, their education perhaps. I just really personally do believe that we should have that right to choose not only over our body, but our entire rest of our lives. We should be able to make that decision. So thank you so much for sharing. This next one says, I recently moved in with my boyfriend and things couldn't be better. Our relationship was a bit rocky to the point where moving in together seemed like it would make things worse, but it actually made us better than ever. I love hearing that. That's fantastic. Like I said, this, you can write in, you know, things you were looking for help with, or maybe you're struggling with, but writing in your wins too. Like, I think that's fantastic. I'm really happy to hear that. This next one says, I wanted to share my personal experience with Nexplanon. It's a birth control implant that goes in your arm. I got my Nexplanon in the middle of 2020 when I was dealing with COVID stress and stress from moving into a new place with my boyfriend. I thought that it was working fine and that my body was adjusting well. I was having some spotting issues here and there, but otherwise I was pretty happy with it. Meanwhile, I was dealing with major depression and anxiety, which I chalked up to the move, work stress, and COVID. My mood would shift so quickly that it felt like flipping a switch, and I would withdraw, become super angry, have a panic attack, and or fall into a depressive episode, all for seemingly no reason. I didn't feel like I was in control of my mental state at all. A few months into using Nexplanon, I had a hair appointment, and after doing my normal highlighting process, my hairdresser said that my hair was shedding more than usual. She asked if I was taking anything different, and when I mentioned the Nexplanon, she told me that could be the issue. She told me to keep an eye on it and talk to my doctor if it continued. It did, in fact, continue. I immediately noticed how much more I was shedding, and I started to stress even more, which doesn't help hair loss, of course. I felt so self-conscious and worried that I was going bald. I did get a small bald patch, but thankfully it was most overall thinning. Shortly after this revelation, I started experiencing back pain that would just not go away. Chiropractor, stretching, massages, and pain meds weren't cutting it. I finally talked to a nurse practitioner, told her my symptoms, and she said it was most likely the Nexplanon causing my issues. I didn't even know back pain was a side effect. I also looked into its other side effects, and wouldn't you know it, depression, anxiety, overall worsening of the mood was one of them. I went through those weeks thinking that I was crazy, and it turns out it was the Nexplanon. I promptly got the darn thing removed and switched back to the pill, and my body has been much happier since. My hair grew back, my moods equalized. I did start taking Zoloft, but that was because I was having a hard time with work. I share this because if anyone else is on hormonal birth control and have noticed changes that you've chalked up to other circumstances, it's always a good idea to check the side effects and see if anything matches up. Hair loss isn't listed as a side effect in Nexplanon, but after Googling it, I found a medical study that did in fact say that there were cases of this happening. Apparently it's rare. If it hadn't been for my hairdresser pointing out my abnormal shedding, who knows how long I would have continued to suffer without knowing what was happening to my body. Something like this is really why I wanted to do this series so much, because this is what we should be talking about and trying to help each other with, because this can be so common and affecting so many women. And I hope something like this is helpful. I know the series will be helpful. I know this series will be helpful. I don't know if you noticed, I was reading and I almost had like a light bulb moment, and I was like, wait a second. Because it's funny, the day that I'm filming this is my last day of being on hormonal birth control. And I'm so excited about it because I've been having my own slew of issues. It really came to a head when I described my moods as manic, and that is not normal to me. And one of the only other times that I have felt that way in my life was when I was on a hormonal birth control, and that did not seem to agree with me, and I had the brand switched. So I've made the decision to get off of it, and I just feel like I want my body back, because there was a short time span where I wasn't on fertility medication and I wasn't back on birth control, and I was like hormone free, and I felt the best, and my mind was clear and my body felt good, and I just felt the best. And then getting back on the birth control and then having it switched is when everything seemed to go downhill for me, and I feel very not like myself. I'm really excited. I'm hoping that I see some positive changes, especially when it comes to my mental health. But I love that you shared this story because it could be very helpful. I've personally never even heard of Nextplan. There's so many different birth controls out there now. And again, it's something that we have to do. We have this responsibility as women that we have to go on birth control. And it's kind of wild to me, but knowing something like that is so helpful. Thank you for sharing. Next one says, some people make me feel like I should be ashamed for taking medication for my mental health, even people close to me. They say it's just a phase and I should come off my meds because it's not good to be on them long term. But when I wasn't on my meds, I wanted to die every day. The only reason I stayed alive was because of my kitty, because I didn't want her to be alone and forgotten. With my meds and therapy, I feel like a person most days. So I don't understand why people would want to take that away from me just because of some of the stigma associated with medication. Thank you so much for sharing. That's so important. That's so important that we cannot let something like a societal stigma prevent us from doing what is best for us, what is best for our mental health. This is something that I've talked about recently on my channel, as well as letting go of something like external validation. And you know, I've seen all the comments about me when it comes to my divorce and when it comes to me living in Las Vegas right now, and I really let them get to me for a while. And then I thought to myself, I'm letting other people decide how I can be happy? No, we have one life to live, and it's so important. And especially when it comes to something like mental health, I hate that there's such a stigma around it. I have tried to be vocal through all of my years in all of my books, talking about things like mental health, talking about it on my platforms to stop the stigma around it, because that is why we still have things happening like suicides, because there's still a stigma around getting help and taking medication. Like you said, with my meds and therapy, I feel like a person most days. I don't understand why people would want to take that away from me. You're talking about your life. Cannot let people take something like that away from us. I think that's so important. Thank you so much for writing that in. This next one says, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this here, but I need to get it off my chest. I was drugged and sexually assaulted by someone I trusted. I am so sorry to hear that. It's beyond unfortunate that so many women have to go through this, especially when you say by someone you trusted. I am someone who has been in that exact same boat. I know for me, definitely made me very fearful and untrusting for a long time. It is a trauma that it is now up to us to shoulder and to work through it and get through it. And it is not easy. And I hope that you know, whoever wrote this in, that you have so many people that support you and want you to get through this, that you have so many people that support you and see you and hear you, because like I said, so many of us go through this, and it is not right. It is not okay. I hope that you have a personal support system around you, but truly, if there's anything that I learned through opening up about my divorce, is how many women do not have that support system, because I was getting emails truly from women who had just left their home, emailing me from their car in a subway parking lot saying, I'm not sure what to do next. So it's very sad that a lot of us don't have support systems in our personal life, but it's also a reason why I got online in 2009, was to try to find people like me, because I felt very much an outsider always. And this is why I want to bring this community together, because we deserve this. We deserve this time. We deserve this space. We deserve being able to support one another. We deserve being able to share our stories without fear and judgment. And I do hope that you are safe. This next one says, "Hi squad, so I went to school for graphic design and photography, and ever since graduation in 2016, it's been a struggle to find a job I love and feel happy in. I've bounced around from internships to a full-time job for a nonprofit that ended up being a really toxic work environment. Then COVID happened and I was working at Starbucks and a retail job at American Eagle Outfitters for about 3 years until this past May. This May, I got offered a job as a social media manager and event coordinator at a local brewing company, and I was so excited to finally get back to something more in the creative field. It was pretty much my dream job, and I loved the people, everyone was really nice, and my manager was supportive and made me feel really valued. Don't get me wrong, there was also some cons to the job, a long commute, weird hours at times, always basically on call to answer social media questions if needed, and some weekend work, but nothing too crazy. Then in mid-July, my boss called me on a Saturday morning and told me that they were eliminating my position, that it didn't make sense for them to have someone in my position operationally, and that it was nothing I did or reflective of my performance or anything like that. I was absolutely crushed, in shock, and didn't know whether to be angry or cry at first. I took that week to spend time with my family on vacation and to just let myself be sad or mad and everything about it. I had just felt like I was getting the hang of my job finally and that I was doing well at it, and I had so many hopes and goals professionally and also personally that I was looking forward to. Ever since then, I've kind of been in a funk. I updated my resume and website and started applying to jobs, but I feel like I'm just comparing everything to my last job I loved, and there's only a couple I've applied to that I've actually gotten excited about. I've just been feeling stuck, and I have said no to plans with friends because I don't have the money right now, or I'm just not in the mood to go out and socialize. I have good days and bad days. I'm currently working part-time at my retail job temporarily, but I know I don't want to do that forever. Some of my friends are telling me to basically just give up and find a job with good benefits and pay, and stop trying to chase my dreams, but I really don't want to just settle on a shitty job I'm going to be miserable at. If anyone has ever been through something like this and has advice or things that help them or keep them motivated at this time, please let me know. Or if anyone has connections in Philadelphia, that would also be appreciated. Love you all, and thank you, Sam, for creating such a loving and supportive community." Thank you so much for writing in. Damn, that makes me so sad though. It's so hard when you get so excited for something like a new career and you're just excited for it in the future and the opportunities, and to have kind of what sounds like just the rug yanked out from under you, that's a lot to deal with. I would also be devastated and sad, and I feel like it's so normal to be in this funk right now, so normal to be in it. But of course, then we have to work through it, and we have to figure out, how can we see this as a silver lining? How can we see it as the whole one door opens and another one door closes and another one opens? Need to see it in that way. I am kind of stuck on the part of, you have friends telling you, like, just give up about your dreams and just go get a job with good benefits, and that's something that I really relate to, especially working in social media before, being an influencer or a blogger or a content creator was even a cool thing. I can relate to having so many people around me say, like, why are you doing that, and just work a real job, and are you even getting paid? And there's so many people that don't want to support others that are chasing after their dreams because they won't. It's hard. It's hard work. It's hard work not giving up. It's hard work going after what you love and desire, because it oftentimes is not easy. It oftentimes doesn't just fall into your lap by happenstance. But a lot of people won't put in that hard work to get there. So then they get mad when others do. I lost so many friends when deciding to get a divorce and move, because I have a lot of friends who are very unhappy with their lives, but they won't do the scary thing to make those changes. So it's easier to just cut me out of their lives. And I get it, it's hard and it sucked and it hurt and I still cry about it. But at the end of the day, I'm living my best life and I'm staying true to myself and I'm chasing my dreams and my dream life and living in my dream city. I think it's important to recognize that and to hopefully be able to find people that do support you wanting to be a dream chaser, whether it's people that you have in your real life or a community like this. again, it's why I think a series like this is so important, so we can support each other and we can say you don't have to give up on your dreams, or maybe here's another way to go about it or go after it. Supportive community is such a big thing. It is such a big thing, and you know, my personal belief is never give up. And I'm someone who, I've been knocked down a lot. I have given up. I have decided to settle and just be happy with what I have. So it takes time to get there, but I hope you don't give up. This next one says, my narcissistic ex-husband really did a number on me. We were together since I was 16 years old. He always told me no one likes me, and he wouldn't introduce me to his friends or anyone. Now I'm 35 and remarried and in a healthy relationship. However, his words still hurt me. I can't make friends because I still have his voice in my head telling me no one likes me. I even convinced myself that my best friend, literally only friend of 25 years, hates me. It has affected me so much that when I was dating my new husband, I left a store and went and waited outside because he ran into a friend. He introduced me, my heart sank, and I walked away. He came out, found me, and asked me what had happened. I explained to him the situation. It took him explaining to me how incredibly sad and wrong that was for me to realize that my ex's words weren't my truth. Don't let anyone tell you who you are or how you should feel about yourself. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I love your last line. Don't let anyone tell you who you are or how you should feel about yourself. If you are in, I think the word toxic gets thrown around a lot now, but a toxic relationship, someone who belittles you, someone who makes you feel less than, someone who does not value you, if you spend years with someone telling you that, you really do start to believe that about yourself. And I am a big advocate for positive self-talk, and it's hard. It's so much easier to be negative than it is to be positive. It is so much easier for negative thoughts to infiltrate our mind than it is for positive, and you have to keep training yourself that when you have those negative thoughts, you turn them around into a positive. It's hard. And when you have someone else, and especially your partner, your person, a family member, something like that, when you have someone saying those words to you, yes, you will start to believe it. And turning around that trauma is not easy, and it will be time consuming. I love that you have someone new who sounds like will work through that with you. But I love the last line. Don't let anyone tell you who you are or how you should feel about yourself. Make sure to say, I know some people might laugh at this, but like, what? Say kind words to yourself every single day. Say positive things about yourself every day. Write down positive things about yourself every day. Every day. Every day. Do it. I can't overcome my hate for my teeth. I have none. I took a medication for my mental health that literally rotted my teeth from the inside out. I have dental insurance, and I have been told I need a full set of dentures in my 30s, but it's $5,000 out of pocket, and I can't afford that. I'm a mom of 4. It's to the point where I can hardly eat. I don't have a single full tooth left in my mouth. No molars at all. It's incredibly embarrassing. I feel like a lot of people assume I'm a drug addict or have poor hygiene, but that's not the case. I live like a hermit and avoid talking to people because I can't laugh or smile at anyone. It's caused me to be so depressed and isolated. I don't know how to overcome this, but I feel like I'm wasting my life because of my teeth. That is incredibly difficult. I know something like teeth is a big thing for a lot of people. And I've even read this like in books, characters struggling with something like their teeth. And there's so much going on here, especially when thinking of what other people might think about you because of it. That's a whole other layer that plays into it as well. Dental work is so expensive. It is so expensive, and especially if you need, like you said, the full set of dentures, it's not affordable for a lot of people. I'm not very well versed in dental. I don't know if anyone might be. If there's, I just don't know if there's anything about how you could potentially decrease a cost, payment plans. I don't really know if there's such thing as like pro bono dentists. I'm not very well versed in dentistry myself, but if anyone else is, or you have any suggestions, I think writing in would be a great thing. But it's so hard when something like that is holding you back so much from living your best life, especially because it sounds like it was, you took medication for your mental health, like you were doing something good for you and something positive for you. To have such a negative outcome from it is definitely so challenging, but please know that you have people here that are supporting you and wanted to see you through this. And then we're going to finish off with the last one. I got into deep debt in the past 2 years due to depression and feeling the pressure of having almost every release, and I've been paying off almost $20,000 since. I get this. I get this a lot. I have talked recently on my channel about how I am mostly a beauty channel, and I have talked about the pressure of buying new makeup and how much money I've spent on makeup. I spoke years ago about how I put myself into debt because I was buying so much makeup for my YouTube channel, and right now I look around and I just look at how much I have and how much money I feel like I've wasted. I think about what I could have done with the money that I spent on makeup and things that aren't truly bringing me joy. One of the biggest things that I have done recently is really journaling about what does bring me joy. And I mean, I truly go through the list of my day. This is what I consumed. These are the videos that I watched. You know, the YouTube videos that I watched, these are the TikTok videos I watched. This is how I felt. And I had to really pinpoint what brings me joy and what brings me anxiety, what doesn't make me feel good, and then I had to switch my habits based on that. And that's why I've talked about changing some of my content on my channel, focusing more on my older makeup, just not buying as much, being able to put my money towards something else, paying off my car. So I can definitely relate to this. I think there's so much inner work that takes a lot of time and can be very ugly. I remember, you know, trying to make the decision of if I was going to get a divorce or not, and the number of times I just laid on my bathroom floor and truly like scream cried. It's hard. It's hard to look within yourself. It's hard to make difficult decisions. It's hard to realize where you feel like you have come up short, and where, you know, a word that I used in my journaling is like feeling like I failed myself. It's really hard to come to terms with that and to accept that and understand it, but you kind of need to in order to move forward. But honestly, I think a lot of us can really relate to this one, especially when I posted the video talking about feeling the pressure of buying all the new. So many people wrote in saying things similar. So many people wrote in talking about their giant makeup collections that they have now because they started watching beauty YouTube in 2016, and we're kind of looking at our makeup collections like, now what? I think a lot of people can understand this as well, and hopefully we can be a nice support group to not feeling that pressure and using what we have and figuring out where exactly it is that we are finding joy and focusing on that. But after that, that is the last one. Again, a huge thank you to my members for working with me on this first video. I could not have done this without you. Genuinely. I appreciate everyone who wrote in and shared their stories. Again, if you have any feedback that you would like to leave any of these, please do let me know. If you have any feedback on this video and how you think it could be improved, you know, this is the first one, so it's kind of like the pilot episode of the Inspired Squad, but please do leave it in the comments. Again, if you feel like anything could be helpful shared, I think sharing our stories and supporting one another, especially as women, is going to be the biggest thing. If there's anything that you would like to write in, once again, it can be good, bad, hard, easy, positives, triumphs, even something from, like, I recently discovered that I love matcha. I realized through the elimination diet that coffee does not work with me. Coffee's out. Coffee's out. And so instead, I tried the matcha latte from Starbucks, and someone recommended doing raspberry in it. So today I got an iced grande matcha latte from Starbucks, 2 pumps raspberry, and the vanilla sweet cream cold foam, and it was so good. So good. If you have a favorite drink, a favorite recipe, if you are in my private Facebook group, this is kind of like an extension of that, but on also a public yet anonymous level, because every day in my Facebook group, the Secret Sam Squad, we have a different prompt. We have Monday motivation, we have Tasty Tuesday, Wellness Wednesday, TBR Thursday, what we're reading. What's Friday right now? We change Friday a lot. Fabulous Friday, maybe it is right now. Selfie Saturday, shout out Sunday. So really, I mean, anything that you want to write in for this is, like I said, this is our time, this is our space, this is our time to come together as a community. I hope that you found this helpful. My goal is to post these maybe once a month. That's what I have in my mind right now, but would love to get your feedback on it. Hopefully you found this helpful. Thank you so much to the members who made this video possible. And from me and my dog, we thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like this video if you did enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe before you go, and I will see you in my next one.